Hey guys, it's Marty from owingsart.com, and I'm glad you stopped by today because we're going to take a look at these Daler & Rowney watercolor pencils. This tin right here is like a commemorative or special edition tin, I guess you could say, but there's 12 colors, 12 colored pencils in this set. We're going to take a detailed look at them. I'll swatch them out. Later on, I'll do a little drawing with them and add, a painting, I guess, combination drawing painting. The gear I'm going to use today is a Pentel water brush, this fluid watercolor paper right here. I'll use that Marie's eraser made in China, and of course the pencils here, and I might even use that mop brush by Isabey that's just to the right there. Well, the first thing you notice is they come in a very nice tin. Like I said, it's a commemorative tin. It's very nice, and they come very well packed. You can see the foam there to keep the pencils from breaking. Here's a few more statistics on these. They are made in Austria, and they come in a 12, 24, and 36 pencil sets, but there's 36 in the entire line. So if you pick up the 36 pencil set, you're all in for about 35 to 45 bucks or something like that. Nice thick core in these pencils, a 3.6 or 8 millimeter core. I couldn't quite tell, and there's not a lot of specs on these, but it looks to me like a good heavy core. One other thing I'll give props to Daler & Rowney for doing is they printed the actual color name on the pencil, which I always appreciate. There's a corresponding number on there. I'm not sure what the number means. If you go to their color chart, I'll put a link in the description. Maybe that's what it's all about, but in actual fact, the color name is on the color chart as well, so it's pretty easy to tell. They feel good in your hand. They're not... like I said, it's a smooth round barrel. Some companies make a hexagonal or six-sided shaped watercolor pencil. Caran d'Ache makes a pencil like that, and I believe the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer pencil is like that. But like I said, well packed, very sturdy tin here. The pencils, when I opened them up, there was no breakage or anything like that. They were all sharpened nicely, and so that's good. It shows that they invest a little bit in keeping their pencils sturdy. Anyway, right here you can see their little, go to dalerrowney.com and see these are made in Austria. So here I'm just going to draw out some of the colors in the dry form because they're a pencil and a watercolor pencil. So people tend to forget you can use watercolor pencils in their dry form. Now this is a little toothier paper, this watercolor paper, but I really like the way it works with watercolor pencils, so decided to use it anyway. Otherwise, if I was going to do colored pencil drawing just with the dry, I'd probably use something like a Bristol or less toothy paper. And the colors go down nicely in the dry form, but here's what happens when you apply water to watercolor pencils. They're marks. You get nice pop there, and there's really nice dissolvability in these pencils, and there's some nice color blending, although I found the colors to be a little bit more muted than I would like them to be, so not as much pop in the mixture of the colors when they go together, as you can see here. So not quite up to what I'd like to see in terms of just color pop. Now here I just dipped the pencil straight into the water, and I'm applying the pencil wet to the paper, which you can do if you want. I don't recommend trying to sharpen the pencil immediately after that. Let the pencil dry because sometimes you can get some weird chipping or effects with the wet wood around the core. But you can see here they go on okay. I wouldn't say super, but you can get a little bit deeper color by doing that, by dipping the pencil right into the paint. And on the right side over there, I did swatch out some layers. So I put 6 layers down, and the more layers I put, the more intense the color got, as you might figure. But still, the colors were just a little bit weak for me, for my liking. They're not bad at all. You can see here, and we'll compare them to some other watercolor pencils here in a minute, but they just sort of weren't overwhelmingly vibrant or exciting to me. There's just something missing or something lacking here. And right below the layering, I did a little erasing on the color, and they erased pretty nicely, although just slightly above average, I would say. You can still see some remnants of the color. But again, when you stain paper, you can erase the color completely very easily. So like I said, just swatching these out, or my general sense from swatching these out would be the colors are a little bit more muted than I'd like them to be. There wasn't as much pop to the colors, and you know, just there seemed to be something lacking here in these pencils. Now, are they artist grade or student grade? It's hard to say exactly. I mean, if they don't perform well and they're artist grade, then you what, knock them down to student grade or higher student grade? I don't know, but Daler Rowney doesn't really give you any advice on which way or another. They just call them artists watercolor pencils. So if they truly are, and they do a lot of bragging about the pencils on their website, so I just don't think the pencils themselves, in my immediate first experience with them, lived up to that hype. So that's what I'll say about that. Now just let's move on to maybe doing a little bit of a color a comparison to some other colored pencils that you're probably familiar with. And whatever you see here swatched out in comparison, I've already done a review on these on the channel, so you can go look those up. So here is a nice comparison to some Koh-i-Noor Mondeluz Aquarel pencils, which are really nice. And you can see how the colors just tend to be a little bit deeper, richer. Although the Mondeluz didn't dissolve as well as these pencils did, they really did pop well. They really do. They are vibrant colors, and you can just tell looking at the swatches side by side. All right, and the very fine Swiss-made Caran d'Ache Supracolor pencils. You can see here again, you know, there's a little bit more vibrancy, a little bit more pop to the colors, especially in the reds and yellows. The blues, like the cerulean blue here, the Daler and Rowney cerulean blue, not that great. Here's pencils that might be more interesting in terms of being on par with these. These are Prismacolor watercolor pencils, and I'd say those are, you know, if not slightly better than these Daler and Rowney, they're just pretty close. Here's some Winsor & Newton watercolor sticks. I always just like to throw those into the mix, and you can see sort of the vibrancy in that. Maybe it's not fair to compare the sticks to the pencils, but just to give you a quick look at that. Anyway, and here's a Pentalic. This is a very inexpensive watercolor pencil, and you can see it. I think for me, these tend to be right in that sort of in the Pentalic range, except that they're so inexpensive, the Pentalics, that they're considered really minor student grade pencils. Here's an Ergosoft Staedtler pencil, and you can even see, like, look at the vibrancy in those compared to the Daler and Rowney sort of muted colors. Here's Derwent Inktense pencils, and again, maybe not a fair comparison since it's a different type of watercolor, water-soluble ink pencil. Caran d'Ache Fan Color, which is sort of Caran d'Ache's lower student grade pencil, made in Switzerland. Still, I think you're getting more intense colors with the Caran d'Ache than you are with these Daler and Rowneys. Which it's oh yeah, here's a look at the Lyra Rembrandts, which is slightly better again. The thing I was going to say about the Daler and Rowneys, which kind of was disappointed by the pencils, was I really like their Aquafine watercolor paints. They're really nice for the price, and I love using them and use them a lot. And I've recommended them to other artists in the past, and they enjoy them too. So I was kind of hoping these watercolor pencils would be sort of on par with those, but they just weren't for me. Yeah, quick look at a couple of more comparisons here. Now this is a sheet which I did several watercolor comparisons on, and you can sort of, you want to pause, you can sort of see for yourself. This watercolor sheet here has been in a light fast test too, so some of the colors may have faded slightly over time. I was at 4-hour light test. I should have put 4-week light test, just a month, which is not a long light test, I know. So if you want to add a comment that, hey, 4 hours, 6 hours, that's not enough time. That is absolutely right. It should be at least 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year for a good light fast test. So that's really a look at a comparison in terms of sort of looking at other colored pencils in comparison to these. And here's just another quick look. So I think I'll get into the drawing painting demo now and try them out here. So what I'm going to do now is some light pencil work. I'm using a Faber-Castell TK9400 lead holder. So I just mentioned that because I didn't mention it before in my gear list. So, and I'll just sketch out this girl who was standing in line waiting for coffee at a local cafe the other day. So here we go. So this was just a really fast, rough sketch, but I just wanted to try out the paints, and in a sketch I would ordinarily do, just hanging around the cafe or whatnot. So it was okay, the colors, like I said, they're not extremely vibrant, and they just don't really stand out for me. So, well, I think it's time to give these pencils a final rating in some different categories. So here we go. So color, just average for me, and vibrancy, again, maybe slightly above average, but right around in that average zone. Layering was okay, pigments, just average. They sharpened up nicely. The dissolvability with these pencils is good. Erasing was decent. Overall quality seemed slightly better than average, and of course the light fastness, I'll just have to test these over time and see how well they hold up. So. This 12 set cost about $18 US, so overall rating, when I look at value and all things considered, 5.5, so just above average if I'm rating these as artist pencils. Okay, it's shout out time. I want to give a huge shout out, a big shout out to my friend Anya, who lives in Dusseldorf, Germany. She was kind enough to send me these awesome pens by the Stettler company. They're a German manufacturer of fine writing instruments, and these pigment pens are just awesome. So she sent these to me in a package, which I received the other day, and I just wanted to say thank you for those. I will use these in my sketch work, 6 different pens in a very cool case, and it was just awesome to get these. Thanks, Anya. I will definitely put them to use. If you enjoyed the video and this review, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to comment and share the video. Well, thanks for stopping by today as we took a look at these Daler and Rowney watercolor pencils. Have a great day, everybody. So long for now. This is Marty from owingsart.com.